All right, whether it's a coordinated cabal, as the Donald Trump folks see it, or whether there really is something to it, but a lot of left-leaning groups sort of plan these coordinated show-ups at Trump events. And with so many allowed in, it doesn't take many to disrupt an affair, even when you have tens of thousands who go to them. Niger Innis says this is all the proof you need that these are not necessarily Trump-inspired events. Niger is supporting Donald Trump, I hasten to add, right? You still like Donald Trump, right?
I absolutely still like Donald Trump. I should state for the record, though, my group, Tea Party Forward, has endorsed Ted Cruz. But we know that it's going to take supporters of Donald Trump, supporters of Ted Cruz, to unite this party and to win in the general election.
But, Niger, I think of that Ted Cruz, he was among those who said, well, he certainly elicits the tone, that is Donald Trump, that brings on these events. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I'm not supportive of that, actually. I think Kasich has said similar things. I think Marco Rubio has said similar things. And they are bowing to the dominant establishment media narrative, which is that Donald Trump is responsible for us. That is not true. The reality is that you have a lot of these left-wing groups, many of whom are sponsored by George Soros and his monies. They're, post 9/11 anti-war groups like Answer. They're Black Lives Matter. They're the leftovers from Occupy Wall Street. And you just contrast the narrative of the dominant establishment media about Occupy Wall Street and how this was such a wonderful thing, people exercising their First Amendment rights. And then, Donald Trump has these disruptions at his rallies, and somehow he gets blamed for it. And,
well, he has said a lot of,
like you said, he's had tens of thousands of people at protests all across the country.
Come on, I mean, he has said things that all but eggs protesters on. Now, obviously, he's not telling those in the audience go after the protesters, but he has made the kind of remarks that you could easily interpret as saying, is he egging the crowd on? And I guess what I'm asking now, as he moves forward and looks more and more like the nominee, should he change his tactic, his tone, his approach, even to protesters?
I think he is going to make a pivot, regardless of these protesters and these agent provocateurs that are there purposefully to disrupt. I think he had already decided that should he win the nomination, he was definitely going to make a pivot and be a lot more of a calming influence, a lot more of a unifying message. But should he do that now? Should he do that now? And so if the media is going to jump on him anyway, I think this provides a rare opportunity to do just that. So I definitely see where you're coming from that. But if you are going to want to be president, should you start at least sounding more presidential? You're right. We might have seen signs of that with this, chat he's doing with Chris Christie. He is, at least by the two counts that I've seen, allowing protesters to stay in the room. He hasn't kicked them out, to my knowledge. But do you think he should do more of that, less of that? Well, I think he's got to be careful. He's got to walk a tightrope. He should pivot and be a little more of a unifier and have a unifying message. At the same time, he does not want to be in a situation like Bernie Sanders was in, where he was making a speech and literally the microphone was snatched from him by two Black Lives Matter protesters. You do not want Donald Trump doing that. His supporters would not like it. The base of the Republican Party would not like it. And quite frankly, Neil, there are a lot of independents and Democrats, quite frankly, that are angry at the left wing and how they have dominated the airwaves and the narrative and are looking for a little pushback.
Yeah, you're right about that, Niger. Niger Innis, thank you very much. Good seeing you again.